Good morning. Welcome to this in-person and online service of the Unitarian Society of New Haven. My name is John Watson. My pronouns are he and him. And I'm serving as worship associate this morning. If you want to say anything to me later about how this goes, you'll see me again. Today's service is the kickoff for our annual fundraising campaign. We'll commission the team. We'll look forward to our success. I want to especially welcome newcomers and people who haven't been here in a while. Please come to the social hall right through that door at the back for refreshments after the service and to visit the connections table if you have questions about us or Unitarian Universalism as a whole. If you want, you can invite people beside you to come back, but take a moment right now to say to those around you, welcome, good to see you. Okay, come back to me now. These 5 rows over here, the front rows in my right-hand section, are for people who wish, for any reason whatsoever, to wear a mask during the service and to be near only those who wear masks. You are also, of course, welcome to wear a mask anywhere, here or elsewhere on the campus, if that's what you want. There are a number of announcements in your order of service. There are a couple that I've been asked to specifically stress to you here. If you're interested in orientation toward our culture and our life here at USNH, please reach out to our connections coordinator, Libby, at membership@usnh.org. We'll be holding our new to USNH class on April 12th, and we want to make sure all who are interested in attending that get an invitation. The Stewardship Campaign Kickoff event, a baked potato supper, will occur next Saturday afternoon. You'll be getting notice about that or have already. Please RSVP online or at the stewardship table in the social hall after this service. The USNH Passover Seder, which is open to everyone and includes a potluck dinner, will be Saturday, April 5th from 6 to 8 p.m. You can sign up with Amy Wexler and Toby in the social hall after this service. Please join us Wednesday, April 9th for an author talk with Yale philosophy professor Jason Stanley, the author of 7 books, most recently Erasing History and How Fascism Works. The event will be held here at USNH from 6 to 7 p.m., again on April 9th. There are flyers in the lobby for more information. And I've also been asked to mention the Auction Gala, 5/9, May 9th. There already has been an email inviting contributions there, but there's a table, once again in the social hall this afternoon, after this service. If you want more information, if you want to make a contribution, or if you want to make a reservation. There will be an offering at the close of this service, ushers at the back with baskets, and we invite people to make contributions. We do ask that if you're making a contribution, you make clear what the purpose is. If you note on your check either pledge, if you're fulfilling your pledge obligations for this year, or offering if you're making a contribution, that will be helpful to us in bookkeeping. Whatever way your generosity is shared, please know that we receive it with sincere appreciation. Reverend Stephen will lead us in the call to worship.
Thank you, John. If you and Mary Beth could position yourself for the lighting. Our opening words this morning are from the Islamic poet Sa'di. To worship the divine is nothing other than to serve the people. It does not need rosaries, prayer carpets, or robes. All peoples are members of the same body, created from the same essence. And if fate brings suffering to one member, the others cannot stay at rest. You come for many reasons, for comfort, support, friendship, uplift, but one way or another, we do not come to do anything other than to move past that place of rest into a place of action. And it is in that spirit that we will rise and sing, Make Channels for the Streams of Love 299. And I also invite you, if you have a certain joy in your heart, to come forward and light one of the candles of appreciation, or if you have a sorrow in your heart, please come. You may add a stone or a shell into the water. 299, Make Channels for the Streams of Love.
Well, good morning once again, friends. My name is Jesse Greist. I'm the coordinator of congregational life here, and my pronouns are he and him. I'd like to share with you that about 2 weeks ago in our pre-kinder through first grade class, the children were asked what kind of space or what kind of place best creates community. They were given several options to think about, and in the end, when it came time to create a model of such a space, their answer was unified. The best place to create community is a playground. They created a model of that playground and will be continuing to work on that model today. And as I looked at what they created a couple of weeks ago and all the potential that there is in playgrounds, it brought me back to one of the best stewardship campaigns I've ever borne witness to. When I was a teacher in Costa Rica, my 6th grade class at the end of their year was tasked with creating a gift to future elementary school students as they departed for the middle school. In prior years, other 6th grade classes had opted to do things like create a bench, create a meditation space, create a small platform for gathering what they call guayabas, and we know as guava fruit. This class gave me an idea that I could never have come up with on my own. There had been a play structure at the edge of our playground, just entering the rainforest, that had been donated about 20 years before, and it was in terrible disrepair. It was a large platform built about 15 feet up into a tree, and all of the guardrails had rotted and fallen off, as had the stairs leading up to that platform. And the post that supported the fire pole that was next to this platform, along with all of the ropes along the hanging bridge between the platform and a second platform, were gone. Ever since I had been at this school, we had been told, no children can play on this. And all the kids played elsewhere, but kind of would look longingly over at this platform. So when my sixth graders said, let's repair that play structure, I had two conflicting thoughts. One was, awesome idea. The second was, there is no way we are going to be able to do that as our class project. But once again, I was proved very happily wrong. Over the course of about 2 months, I watched as our grounds manager and our facilities manager and our sixth graders marched into the forest and found a tree trunk of a fallen roble, and those kids picked up that entire tree and marched it out of the forest, cut off its branches. It had already fallen naturally, and they cut off its branches and created a new post for the fire pole. I watched as they worked together to create steps for a new stairway, to weave ropes for a new safety on the hanging bridge, and bit by bit, as this campaign went on, they got close. At the end of the year, however, it still was not finished. That was the year that I was leaving Costa Rica to come to Connecticut and to take up my job here at Unitarian Society of New Haven. When I left, the play structure was not finished. It was not ready yet, but those sixth graders had gotten it about 80% of the way. About a year later, I went down with my family to visit, and guess what? The 7th grade class had continued work, had continued gathering skills, volunteered time, and they had finished the project. And each year for the next 5 years, the graduating 6th grade classes continued to work and improve that one play structure. And it's still in use now, and they're still working on it now. Sounds kind of like stewardship at USNH, doesn't it? Great need, people coming together to support. It's never quite finished. Let's keep that in mind as we enter this time of stewardship of this place that we love. What do you say, we pre-kindergartners and first graders, if we go up and finish that playground now? What do you say? Sound good? Let's clean up. It's my teacher brain here. Let's sing all of our children onto their classes with words that are in your order of service, and then we'll clean up after. Go now in peace, go now in peace, may the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Everywhere you may go. I'd like to invite forward Bobby Pace, president of our board and the stewardship team. And as you all come forward for the commissioning,
In hearing from John about the potato, oh, that's right, you need to do the covenant. Well, I'm going to stand next to you, and then I'm going to invite forward everyone up. Come on up. Well, I'm going to stand with you because I've got a joke to tell. All right, here we go.
Maybe I should just sit down and let him tell the joke. Covenant lies at the center of how Unitarian Universalists gather in community and in here every week. We are united not by a particular set of beliefs, but by the promises we make about how we will be together, how we will treat each other, and how we will seek to mend relationships when we fall short of our aspirations. Each week, we recite together a brief version of our covenant. I encourage you to read the full covenant on our website. While the following words express our intentions in writing, our true covenant lives and breathes in our actions. Please join me now in reciting the words that appear in your order of service or in the chat on live stream. We covenant together to create and nurture a culture of respect and kindness, and to engage in the spiritual and everyday practice of loving more generously. To this end, we will strive to be open, value differences, listen deeply, use kind language, speak our truths, work with conflict, seek humor and joy.
In that spirit, we're going to seek humor, and we may or may not find it. Bobby, if you would come forward with the team. In hearing about the potato dinner for next Saturday night, I was reminded of a very poignant story, which I'd like to share, of a mother potato and her 3 daughters. And one daughter comes and says, "I'm going to get married, Mama." She said, "Tell me." She said, "I have found a russet to marry." And the mother was just gobsmacked with happiness. "I'm so happy." And the second daughter said, "I too will be married, and I have found an Idaho to marry." And the mother was just overcome with joy and happiness. And the third daughter spoke up and said, "Mama, to complete your joy, I am engaged to Anderson Cooper." And the mother broke down in tears. She said, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And the mother said, "I never dreamt my daughter would marry a commentator." So if you want more humor like that, come next Saturday night. But Bobby, I now surrender the pulpit to you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Bobby Pace. I'm your USNH president, and my pronouns are she and her. What I'd like to say is we have both the stewardship team with us and we have members of the board with us to do the commissioning this morning. Each year, we must renew our commitment in spiritual, loving, and practical ways to the continued health and life of this, our spiritual home. We look to USNH for comfort in times of fear, loss, and struggle, for love and support in times of joy, for teaching in times of uncertainty, for leadership in times when a larger community needs us, for all this and more. It demands strength and support of all of us at times. Each of us must offer both in different ways at different times. Now, as we must each year, we plan for the coming year and we pledge generously what we can to make our plans a reality. The board of USNH calls you, the stewardship team. Go ahead. Hello. Calls you to lead us in this effort to ensure that our ministries will continue and grow. Will you lead this year's pledging campaign? Will you lead with love, strength, imagination, joy, and humor to keep us and make us even more the loving community we wish this place to be.
We will. We are honored to be so trusted and charged. We will strive to lead this work with the gentleness, strength, joy, and love USNH asks of us.
And now, all of you, it is your part, of course, to make this campaign a success, which will lead us into the future. Will you look forward to and accept the appeals of this committee? Will you think seriously of what you wish USNH to be and what it can mean to you? After thought and reflection, will you pledge generously as your life circumstances permit to continue and to build the home, the life, and the ministry of USNH?
We will. Call on us, and we will answer.
Thank you all. Thank you, stewardship team, and thank you, board.
Want to tell you that we have given an initial outreach to the leadership of this congregation. And so far, in response, we've received pledges of $165,000 for the coming year. Please help us complete the work. Will you join me now in responsive reading number 669 in your gray hymnal? Blessed are the man and the woman who have grown beyond their greed. But they delight in the way things are and keep their hearts open day and night. They are like trees planted near flowing rivers, which bear fruit in their way. Their leaves will not fall or wither. Everything they do flourishes. The choir will now share an anthem with us.
When I was younger, I had the delight of getting to interview people who'd written spiritual autobiographies for Christian Century magazine. And I interviewed people that I really, really respected. And one day, I was interviewing the writer Sam Keane at the Omega Institute. And I asked him why he wrote about topics that other people tended to ignore, such as the experience, the feelings of wonder and boredom and hate. Well, everyone else was writing tomes on revelation and theology, he said, but I thought to myself, you're always talking about revelation, but you're leaving out of your analysis of the sacred a basic human experience. For example, the experience of wonder. Well, let's just say that to talk about the sacred, he said, you don't have to refer to any one specific religion or tradition. You have to learn to talk about the affections. Sam Keane said, I was trying to mine the territory of religious dispositions, of affections. And it's surprising how seldom theologians talk about what it feels like to live one's faith, or even what it feels like to be alive, or to be in love, or to be in despair. The emotions are often left unsaid and unspoken. And that's true for us Unitarian Universalists as well. We tend to live a kind of a heady theology, deeply irrational. And so I've been asking myself for years, what does it feel like to be a Unitarian Universalist? What is the emotional core of why we're here, what we experience, what we're drawn to, and what we share? Now, most of us would say, I think, I'm here because I want to experience the sensation of liberation, of being free. Free to open my heart to whatever revelations may come my way. The experience of being able to think for myself and to think with other people. That is a wonderful emotional experience. It's not just an idea. It's something we actually feel in the core of our being. The sense of being able to breathe free, to be free. That's a wonderful thing. And it's why I've been a Unitarian Universalist all these years. To find and feel and live a range of what Keane called religious affections, the emotions of what comes with the free faith. And sometimes, as I said, we can dwell on ideas so long that we don't pay enough attention to the emotional life. And after many years of thinking about this, I've decided that it is the emotion of generosity that I've most come to center upon. So yeah, it made sense when stewardship time rolls around that I think about this. But for me, the emotion of generosity is the sensation of having approached spiritual maturity. Stewardship is not about fundraising as much as it is about a mature and seasoned response to everything that creation has given us. We didn't make ourselves, we didn't make this gorgeous spring day. Everything we have is an absolute gift. And to open our hearts to it, to respond to it, to feel gratitude towards it, a surging sense that we can give something back to a life that has given us everything. Abraham Maslow, the psychologist, said, when a person accepts a lifestyle that indicates that they want to put more into life than they want to take out of it, they have reached adult maturity. I love that, and I think it's true. Marianne Willis, a member of our Annapolis, Maryland congregation, tells this story about giving. During a hard rain, she noticed an older woman without an umbrella, and she offered to share hers to the next bus stop. I'm 85 years old, the older woman explained, and I'm blind in one eye, and I just couldn't find an umbrella today. Willis recalls, I'm embarrassed to admit that we were halfway to the bus stop before I realized I should just give her my umbrella. But that was the problem. I was thinking of it as my umbrella. And it took a leap of insight for me to think about giving it away. She realized that giving away the umbrella was an initial step, a first step, but an absolutely crucial one. Yet Willis went on to make another important thought for herself. She said, as long as I thought of it as my umbrella that I was generously giving, I was missing the point. It was an umbrella to be used as needed. And when she compared that incident to her church canvas, she thought that for years she thought about the congregation asking her to give money that was hers. But standing in the bus stop in the rain, she realized that our teachers appear when we least expect them. But until I can think of my money, she wrote, and my time and talents as resources to be used as needed for all of us, my ego and my sense of ownership will disrupt the process. I think she's right. I think it's actually a hard lesson to learn, which is why I use the phrase spiritual maturity. Some of us just leap to it, others learn along a hard road. Sharon Salzberg, a Buddhist teacher of meditation, remembers a master from Thailand's words when he first visited the United States. In Asia, she writes, the classical sequence of the teachings and practice is first generosity, then morals, and then meditation into insight. But here in the United States, the sequence seems to be meditate first, then try to get moral, and after some time, as a kind of appendix, there's some teaching about generosity and what's going on here. This is a great question. In other words, the Buddha's first order of business, dana, the practice of generosity, was the absolute ground from which all advanced spiritual techniques grew. And it's more than a practice. It is a surging emotion. So we in the West can sometimes get ahead of ourselves. When I encountered this story, I couldn't help but think of my own faith, so ready to save the world, but sometimes neglecting its own caring committees within congregations. The near at hand is always a little harder to start with, isn't it? We religious liberals sometimes want to start with insight, ideas. The problem is, in terms of the practice of generosity, quote, we stop at nothing. You can't stop there. Having figured it out, we can rest on our laurels. But if you give yourself laurels, if you crown yourself before doing the practice of feeling the emotion, you have to run the race. We have to practice the walking of the Spirit before we can run. Or better yet, write a resolution for General Assembly. The meditation master from Thailand put his finger on something very crucial. The ground has to be prepared with simple acts and simple understandings before insight. And the Buddhists say that if you can reach that point, if you do the acts of generosity, if you feel it, they call it the 6 perfections. It's learned at 3 levels. What level are you at? Well, I don't know. I can only talk about myself, and I sometimes feel I'm just hanging around at tentative giving. We have to fight through fear to give. That's what that story from Marianne Wills was about. And we can hesitate before sharing, before understanding that everything about us is to be offered as needed. Still, you and I can learn together that beyond the fear, beyond the hesitations, there's just a wonderful freedom and joy in giving. And next, they say, comes brotherly and sisterly giving, where we recognize the connection, and then the giving becomes easy, open, and free. We feel as if we're giving to a blood relative, even if we are not. The hesitation is gone, but there is still one more level to go. This is what they call royal giving. Jack Kornfield, the great Buddhist teacher, describes it as like this. In this we take such delight in the welfare and the happiness of others that our generosity is spontaneous and immediate. This goes beyond equal sharing. We enjoy the well-being of others so deeply that we give the best of ourselves so that others may enjoy. Our own joy becomes greater with such generosity. It is as if we become a natural channel for the happiness that may yet be. To understand this isn't just stewardship time, it's every single week. I think it's why I became a Unitarian Universalist all those years ago, because I wanted to be more than liberated and free. I wanted to become, although I could not have framed it that way in that time, I wanted to become a more generous and giving person. If I could. Dr. Carl Menninger once asked a wealthy patient, what did he do with all of his money? The patient answered that he worried about it. Well, replied the doctor, did you get that much pleasure out of worrying about it? No, but I get a terror when I think of giving some of it to somebody. We have to learn the level of royal giving, the generous life. We want this emotional freedom and openness for more than just individuals, though. We want it for our free faith as well. Generosity becomes our true treasure for all of us, together. I want to be around people who laugh easily, who think of others with mercy and not bitterness, who lend a hand ungrudgingly and make helping an enjoyable and easeful experience. People who are willing to offer gifts and time and affection. And if I want and would prefer to be around people like that, then I want to grow into a person who is like that. And this growth is not easy. And we need all the help and encouragement along the way that we can possibly get, which is why I think we're here today. Some years ago, the psychologist Bernard Rimland asked more than 200 people to list the people they knew best. He got more than 2,000 names. And then he asked the people participating to list those people on the list who seemed to them to be the most happy. Later, he asked them to go over the same list and mark the people that they, to their perception at least, seemed selfish, devoted to their own welfare, as he termed it that day. And the results were startling. 70% of those marked selfish had also been marked as the ones perceived as unhappy. Perplexed, the psychologist wrote, selfish people are by definition those whose activities are devoted to bringing to themselves happiness, and yet at least as judged by others. Those people seem far less likely to be happy than those whose efforts were devoted to making others happy. Maybe this seems simplistic to you. And guess what? It is. It's really simple. It's not easy, but it's really simple. It's what I think this congregation was born to be devoted to. And when we decide that we wish to live this way, to be a person who gives not unthinkingly, but wholeheartedly, a person who is not naive, who can see other people clearly, and then gives just the same, then we must first learn to be generous within and with ourselves. I'm not asking you today to become a perfect person. I'm not a big believer in perfectionism. But I am a believer in the emotion of generosity. You don't have to be a better person. I'm asking you to be a happier person. And I'm asking myself the simple thing. And ask yourself, who do you like being around? People that are critical, crabbed, constrained, corrosive, and centered in upon themselves? Or people who are seemingly effortlessly, genuinely pleasant, non-judgmental, humorous, happy, open-hearted, and open-handed? And you know the answer. So here's the true question, not the rhetorical question. And I ask you to take it seriously. If you don't want to be around people with ungenerous hearts, why would you ever want to be one? Because you're with yourself all the time. I conclude with a story that I find really touching. I almost hesitate to share it because it's so powerful. But it seems there was an 8-year-old boy whose younger sister had leukemia. And one afternoon, he was brought to a doctor's office. His parents patiently told him that his blood was compatible with his sister's, and she would need a transfusion to live. They asked him to think about it. The next morning, he awoke and told his family he would give his blood. So that day, both he and his sister were hooked up with IVs, and a pint was removed from the boy. He lay in his gurney, watching his blood drip slowly into his sister's arms. The doctor asked him how he was doing. And the boy looked up and said, "How soon until I start to die?" he asked. An 8-year-old boy's perception of his gift. And the question that we ask ourselves with the emotion of generosity is, how soon do we start to live? To truly be happy. Amen. In the Teal Book, the hymn, The Fire of Commitment, 1028. As we extinguish our flames, these are the words we share. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now may peace, which passes all understanding, keep your hearts and minds in the knowledge of love, and may this peace be yours in the week to come. Olav, thank you for being here today. We're so happy to have you here. Thank you.
We had a good time. Okay, so we got two dues this week. We got a meeting and then we've got a step rehearsal.
Right. Thursday is the meeting Tuesday. Tuesday at 11, is it? 11.
I think that's right.
Okay, and I talked to Becky, and Becky all said, that's good.